Excellencies, distinguished panel members, ladies and gentlemen, it's a pleasure to welcome you here today. A special thanks to the International Office of Migration, to you, Director Njespin, to you, Ambassador Laura Thompson, for hosting the third HLPM meeting. There could not have been a more appropriate place to hold this meeting than here, the UN agency dealing with migration, whose mandate, role, and expertise are on migration. IMO has long supported holistic integration policy approaches that recognize migration as an inevitable reality due to economic, social, democratic, political, cultural, and other factors. Accordingly, the HLPM is committed to mobilizing a broad range of stakeholders in support of policies that ultimately depend on the political will to make migration safe, orderly, and regular, based on the principle that migration should be out of choice rather than need or force. In this regard, HLPM has placed emphasis and highest priorities on influencing governments' willingness to manage migration through the development of comprehensive, long-term, coherent migration policies. I would like to extend a warm welcome to you, Dr. Songwe, and to the representative of the Commissioner, to Ms. Cynthia Samuel Ulonjuwon, the Assistant Secretary General and Regional Director. I've already recognized Mr. Farungia, and let me also recognize the representative of our panelists, Ambassador Aslan from Norway. Mr. Cochran, we recognize you representing our panelists from Canada. All of the presence of all of you, many of you who have already worked so hard and attended the first meeting, is a clear manifestation of the importance that the Economic Commission for Africa and the African Union accord to migration, conforming with the Agenda 2030 and the 2063 Agenda. At the meeting in Monrovia, we reviewed the HLM overall objective to affirm Africa's commitment to the global objectives and values, and to harness migration for Africa's development in the context of international cooperation. We recognize that without a clear understanding of migration, negative and inaccurate narratives surround African migrants and migration. These narratives lead to misperceptions about the scale of migration and its effects, thereby creating misleading stereotypes and dangerous mythology which hinder Africa's development. On the other hand, the record and empirical evidence are clear that human mobility and migration can be a catalyst of positive change in support of sustainable development. Accordingly, the role and responsibility of the HLPM is to enhance the production of migration-related knowledge, to support formulation of evidence-based policies, to sensitize policymakers to integrate migration into national plans and strategies, and to propose and advocate policies aimed at mobilizing support for action that promote international migration for the development of Africa. Moreover, we note that Africa's momentum in transformative change for a peaceful, integrated, and prosperous continent impacts the paths of democratic governance, protection of rights and fundamental freedoms, and respect for the rule of law. This is enhancing popular participation in the political processes which help to reduce instability, a major driver of irregular migration. On the economic front, the African Development Bank projects that Africa's real GDP will grow from 3.6% in 2017 to 4.1% in 2018. The African Union's success in the signing of the agreement for the creation of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area will create the largest trading bloc of participating countries since the establishment of the World Trade Center, promoting a market of 1.2 billion people with a GDP of 2.5 trillion. The CFTA is a bedrock component of the African Union's Agenda 2063, aimed at creating prosperity and improving the standard of living of the African people. The ECA has projected that by eliminating tariffs, the CFTA could boost intra-Africa trade by 53%, contributing to rapid industrialization, increasing job creation, and thereby contributing to the achievement of the 2030 Agenda, as well as several goals in 2063. The resulting economic prosperity, coupled with job creation in a growing economy, is a safeguard for encouraging African migrants to stay at home instead of embarking on dangerous routes to escape poverty. Panel members, ladies and gentlemen, as committed at the Monrovia meeting, I engaged the two co-facilitators of the global compact on migration. Also, the African Union Commissioner for Social Affairs and the UN Secretary General's Special Representative on Migration on how this panel can add value to the contributions of the Africa Group in New York. The consultations and the results of them were reported to you by my letter of March 13, 2018. Given the nature, scope, and pace of negotiations of the General Compact, the Global Compact on Migration, we need to recognize that the role of the HLPM, the role that it can play in influencing the rapidly concluding global contract on migration will be very limited. However, as recommended at the last meeting, the African Union Commission, the Economic Commission for Africa, have been working closely together to provide the technical support to the Africa Group, the group of African ambassadors that are leading the negotiations in New York. I want to acknowledge the leadership of the ECA, particularly the Executive Secretary and the AU Commissioner for Social Affairs, in what they have done to promote the pace and quality of those negotiations. As already conveyed to you, the objective of today's meeting is to come up with strategies about the differences that the HLPM can bring to the multitude of work already done on migration. Provide a forum to discuss best practices in migration interventions and management that have yielded positive outcomes and project them for replication in other member states or regions. Provide a forum to discuss key migration political, legal, and policy frameworks and programs pertaining to migration to generate and highlight opportunities for the HLPM to address migration in Africa, including in the context of the GCM, Migration Policy Framework for Africa, Agenda 2030 and Agenda 2063. Provide a platform to discuss how the work of the HLPM will contribute to the current international and continental discourses and interventions on migration. Come up with concrete actions on the way forward for the HLPM, including schedules of engagements with other institutions and with head of states, leading to the summit that will endorse the report that will be submitted. Accordingly, it's expected that the HLPM will increase awareness on migration and the associated opportunities and challenges in Africa. The key message we aim is to encourage African member states to pursue a course of action and rigorous implementation to harness the positive contribution of migrants for inclusive growth and sustainable development. Finally, we expect to form an agreement on the framework of the HLPM final report, which is to be based on available evidence, accurately articulated based on data and facts, on research and analysis based upon the work that has already been done over many years on the effects of migrants on development. Our heads of state will expect a quality report that will go a long way to supporting the implementation of a global compact on development. On behalf of the panel, I wish to thank the Economic Commission for Africa, you, Dr. Songwe, and you, Director General and Deputy Director General of the International Office on Migration, for hosting this meeting, and both for your support to the HLPM. We applaud the leadership that you all have demonstrated in spearheading migration initiatives in Africa. To all the members of the panel, thank you for all that you have contributed, and thank you for the time and effort, resources that you have put in being a part of this meeting today. Let's hope we have a very active and resulting meeting. Thank you.